Today we're reading a new novel, A Soldier's Life by AlwaysRollsAOne, aka Eric Timke. Themke. I'm so sorry for butchering your name. I'm so sorry. And I'm going in completely blind, but I'm very excited to see what we have in front of us. But now we're going in. Let's go. Chapter 1. Wrong place, wrong time. My nephew decided to have a shotgun wedding in South Dakota in January. His high school girlfriend was pregnant, and her father was insisting on it. I decided to drive out to North Carolina for the wedding. While I was driving across the state of South Dakota, it started snowing. Whiteout snowing. Oh my god, is it Isekai peak? Oh, Truck-kun, because he's out driving. He's gonna die. And it's heavy snow. My phone was not getting any signal, and neither was my GPS. It was like staring at white noise from an old TV, and the snow was accumulating fast. With no plows in sight, I decided I had to get off the road. If you have ever driven through South Dakota, you know there is nothing in South Dakota. I took what I thought was an exit of the highway and drove down the supposed road looking for a hotel, restaurant, or at least a gas station to wait out the storm. There was none, and before I got too far off the highway, I decided to turn back. Of course, my predicament was further cemented when I got my little Toyota RAV4 stuck while attempting to turn around. I sat in the car for about an hour, watching my gas depleting. I started turning the car on and off, heating the car when it got too cold. I got out each time I restarted the car to ensure the exhaust was clear, and then eagerly warmed my cold body and hands for a few minutes. Soon it was sunset, and my gas was getting close to empty. It was around 1 a.m. when I finally ran out of gas. Fortunately, the snow had mostly let up by now. I noticed a light in the distance. I was fairly certain it was not a street lamp, so I bundled up and approached it. I had to break through the 3-foot deep snow to reach the light. It was tough, but when I finally arrived, I found a large barn. I walked around the building, looking for the associated farmhouse, but did not see anything in the minimal light. I then decided to break into the barn. And I was able to pry the old door open, just enough to squeeze in. I used the light on my phone to examine this interior. Eventually, I found what appeared to be some old horse blankets. Horse blankets? Like blankets that horses actually have on them? I assume. At least they smelled like horses. Oh, okay. Being cold and exhausted, I bundled the horse blankets into a makeshift nest and curled up to get some sleep. Hello, Editor Souls here. I noticed that every other page has a bit of text that's cut off. I am so sorry for this, and I've fixed it now so that it won't be a future problem. But anyway, back to the reading. I could see my breath, and my fingers and toes were numb from the cold. So maybe no Truck-kun, just Snow-kun. Freeze to death coon. I woke up to a light bleeding through the barn door. I looked for my phone and could not find it. And to my shock, I was also naked. Oh, okay, or maybe someone else coon. I did not remember stripping, but I had been cold, exhausted, and disoriented. I began crawling on the floor, looking for my clothes. I noticed it was not that cold. The barn door swung open as I was searching on my hands and knees. A middle-aged woman stood there, and we stared momentarily at each other. Woman coon! I'd bet my life Truck-kun is coming. Who knows? There's still time. Weirdly, the first thing I noticed was that there was no snow outside. Had it just pulled a Rip Van Winkle? I don't understand this reference. No one is surprised. Well, she screamed and ran off to my right. I tried to get her to calm down, running after her and yelling that I was not going to hurt her, but he's naked. But I forgot I was naked. I ran out of the barn to find myself standing butt naked in the middle of a farm. There was an open stable to the left with some horses, a handful of chickens running around, and a large central farmhouse that had 3 young men running from it. They're also running from the house. Are they also naked? I tried to talk to the angry boys, but they did not seem to speak English and were yelling at me. Eventually, an older man came out with a small, medieval-looking crossbow. Okay. I knelt and immediately put my hands behind my head to appear as non-threatening as possible, panting. It worked, as I had not been shot. The world appeared to spin as my breathing got heavier, and eventually the younger boys tied me up. Oh, okay. Somehow that made me calm down somewhat. What? The boys were talking in hastened exchanges with their parents. Some words sounded somewhat familiar, but the speech was too fast for me to understand. So we just got teleported? I guess so. Could be. No truck coup needed. Just teleported. The barn was a teleporter. After talking amongst themselves, they seemed to decide I needed to be brought to the police. They put me in a wooden wagon, still naked, and hooked up some horses. I then spent the next 6 hours bouncing around, watching fields of wheat and rye pass by. 6 hours? My captors didn't respond to any of my efforts to communicate. Eventually, we entered a walled city that would fit any medieval setting. I was quickly escorted into a stone building and into a cell, and given a large, coarse burlap sack with holes for my head and arms. I sat in the cold stone prison cell. The door was made of aged wood held together with broad, rusting iron bands. Steam rose from a dark wooden bowl of potato soup near the stone slab that was my bed. I was not hungry, though. Cowering in the corner with a blank stare, trying to make sense of my situation, but nothing came of it. No one bothered trying to talk with me. But after 2 days, a man finally entered my cell. He wore rich yellow robes with a pristine white shirt and black pants. That's the pimp. He had an impassive face as he stood over me and looked at the half-eaten bowl of potato soup. He introduced himself by handing me a medallion. I took the fist-sized disc cautiously. This device would allow us to talk openly with each other, foreigner. I understood him. Was this some advanced technology or magic? I am Magistrate Advocate Perseus. Your crimes have been logged. What crimes? Being naked in a barn? I mean, he did break into the barn. to the barn. Do you wish your name to be associated with the writ, or should we leave it blank? I was still staring in awe at the amulet when what he said caught up to me. Crimes? I mouthed questioningly, standing with the cold foreboding running through me. As I spoke, my words were twisted into an unfamiliar language. He stepped back but did not seem afraid of me. I did not look all that threatening in a sack. Right, he's in a sack. He's a potato. He straightened. You have been convicted of 4 separate charges: trespassing, assault, attempted rape, and theft. Wow, he said, reading from the parchment. Each crime has a penalty of 10 silver. My mouth hung, unable to work. I was in shock at everything happening and the magic device in my hand. I stuttered. What? There was no trial. The magistrate sighed. A visiting truth seeker already confirmed the crimes by questioning Hydran and his family. The verdict has been stamped and logged, and the court has paid the fines to Hydran. You must now return the funds to the court. Can I talk to the truth seeker to clear my crimes? I asked hopefully, studying the disc. No, he has already returned to the city. We only received this translation amulet on a loan to explain things to you, since you seem to be a foreigner in the Empire, he said, with something that was almost pity. So he is like, he has, through this barn, he seems to have been teleported back into medieval times, but also where they have magic tech amulets. Interesting. Besides trespassing, everything seemed to be concocted by the farmers for as much wealth as possible. I wanted to be angry, but I did not think that would help me at the moment. Despite the situation, everything felt a bit more clear. The magistrate sighed at my silence. If you cannot pay, you can be labored out by the court. It should take 2 years to pay the funds back to the empire. My disbelief was evident, and I think he smirked. He let it sink in before continuing. Or you can join the standing army. Foreigners are welcome, and you will pick up our tongue quickly. You will be trained, fed, and sheltered. The pay for a soldier is 1 silver and 8 copper per week after you finish the 7-week training, 3 times the remuneration of a laborer. Wait, 1 silver a week? Then it was it 10 silver per crime though? And it was 4 crimes, right? It needs 40 silver. Okay. He expounded further on the benefits of the army. You look a little flabby, but have excellent size. Whatever your profession prior to your crimes, he scrutinized my tall, overweight frame, the army will teach you discipline and help you acclimate to the empire. After your death is paid, you will draw a bi-monthly wage, enough to return to your homeland at the end of your term. He smiled reassuringly. Hello, Pooh. Time out. What were his crimes? Attempted rape, trespassing, assault, and one more thing. I don't remember. He didn't do any of it, though. I mean, he did trespass. Theft. It was theft. They're just like, you can just work it off and we'll take care of you. Crazy legal system. What did he steal? The horse blanket, I guess. I hesitated. It seemed he was more a recruitment director than a magistrate, and I could guess why my trial had not included my presence. I assumed I was not on Earth, or Earth's past or future. Oh, okay, so we're another dimension, planet, another reality. My anxiety was holding silence as my mind raced. I was alone. I did not know anything, and having food and shelter did not sound so bad. I will join the army, I said hesitantly. The magistrate smiled like it had been a foregone conclusion. He was nice enough to answer my questions patiently, as he thought I was from a distant kingdom. Little did he know. I was interested in the currency to find out how deep in debt I actually was. The monetary system followed. 100 copper coins equal 1 silver coin. 100 silver coins equal 1 gold coin. He showed me a silver coin, and it was about the size of a nickel. A large coin was the size of a $50 and was worth 10 coins. The magistrate produced a large stone tablet with silvery writing on it. You were fortunate that I was here testing some youth. This is an assessment tablet. Do you have them where you come from? No. What does it do? I asked, looking at the well-worn stone. His appraisal of me seemed to fall off my ignorance. He smiled tightly. It will check your potential and ability. The army has minimum standards, but with your size, I think this is formality. I was just shy of 6'1", right? This is inches and fucking, I don't know these. I'm European. You just say 6'1", right? Because I don't know which one is in. Yes, okay, 6'1". Then I said it right. And somewhere between 240 and 250 pounds. He instructed me to hold the tablet. I held the tablet for a moment, and the magistrate activated it with his magic. Definitely magic, not technology. Okay, so skip the technology. It glowed, and the silvery script appeared. The letters looked vaguely familiar, but I could not read the words. However, the numbers were recognizable. The magistrate told me what each line revealed. knowing that I could not read it if I did not speak the language. The magistrate pointed to each line and read it to me, explaining each as he read it. Oh, here we go. Physical. Strength. 21 out of 79. I assume that it is out of 79. Like 79 is the highest strength, maybe. Power. 22 out of 82. Quickness. 16 out of 49. Ooh. Dexterity. 14 out of 55. Pretty low numbers in the physical. Mental intellect. 25 out of 54. That's not too bad. Reasoning. 33 out of 59, also nice. Perception, 44 out of 60. Insight, 18 out of 48. Magical. Ether pool, 7 out of 21. At least he got a point. Channeling, 2 out of 55. That's low. Ether shaping, 0 out of 8. Ether tolerance, 19 out of 50. So he can tolerate magic. He cannot shape it. And he has some, but his channeling is shit. Oh, we have more. Okay. Endurance, 30 out of 87. Constitution, 19 out of 65. Coordination, 10 out of 60. Resilience, 40 out of 71. Empathy, 9 out of 21. Fortitude, 24 out of 88. Ether resistance, 3 out of 19. Prime ether affinity, space. Minor ether affinity, time. Okay. Oh, he is 185 to 186 centimeters and weighs 111 kilograms. Thank you, Cleos, for the translation for the Europeans. And me. His voice was scholarly as he spoke. This is a very old tablet and may not be precisely calibrated, but it should be close. The first number is your current score and the second is your potential as a human. Oh, so I was right. You are a human? What? Yes, I am a human, I stated bluntly. He nodded in confirmation. Now, a normal person typically has a current score between 10 and 25, with a potential between 30 and 60. The upper limit for a human is 100. The 7 physical stats are very important for your new career as a soldier. Strength basically details how much weight you can move with your muscles. He looked at my overweight frame dubiously. Not that the magistrate looked fit himself. Ooh! Shots fired! Your power is how fast you can move the weight. Quickness is how fast you can move and react. Dexterity reflects the manual control of your hands. Endurance reflects how long you can perform physical-related tasks. Constitution is your ability to ignore pain and recover from injury. Lastly, coordination is your control over your entire body. He shifted in his stance and continued. Now, the requirements to join the General Army are to have a potential of at least 40 in strength and endurance. So you qualify. Congratulations. Hey! He sounded slightly mocking. There is also a more advanced unit, the Legion of the Lion. Ooh. You've probably heard of our famed legionaries. They require you to have a minimum potential of 40 in all physical attributes, and also 60 potential in strength and power. I will warn you, only about 1 out of every 3 completed training, as it is quite rigorous. What does the rest of the tablet say? I asked, fascinated by the device and disregarding my plight. He looked down on it. Not important for your new career, but I will explain anyway. Like I would to a child. Wow, he hates us. The next column is your mental traits. Your intellect shows your intelligence, how well you can recall knowledge. Your reasoning is your ability to understand. He stopped before translating the numbers further, running his finger down the second and then the third column. Ah, it's surprising that you have excellent mental attributes and potential. Unfortunately, your magic traits are weak. Otherwise, you might have been able to enroll in one of the colleges with a sponsor. Your affinities are both extremely rare as well. Of course they are. Hell yeah. We're special. The magistrate thought to himself for a long moment. I apologize for getting sidetracked. Let's see. Your reasoning is your ability to utilize information. Your perception is your awareness of the physical world. Your insight is your ability to decipher knowledge and make leaps of understanding. He looked at me doubtfully. Resilience is your ability to resist mental attacks. Empathy is your ability to interpret other people's disposition. Finally, fortitude is your ability to function under mental fatigue and duress. He paused to stretch his back from holding the stone. Now, the final column just represents your magic ability. He started talking faster to get this over with. Your ether pool reflects how much magic ether your body can hold. Channeling reflects how fast you can use ether and replenish ether. Shaping is the ability to mold ether into a usable construct or spell form. Your ether tolerance is how much ether you can channel over the course of a day before sustaining damage to your body. Your ether resistance is your ability to resist magic and ether backlash. All things you need not worry about, as you will never be a mage. Wow! Dude, you don't know me. We have potential. He smiled congenially. Now, the final two lines are your affinities. There are 21 affinities in magic. 7 common, 7 uncommon, and 7 rare. Your 2 affinities are rare, but the rest of your magical stats are not impressive. If you were to attend a mage college, you would be evaluated for all 21 magic affinities, as each ranks between 0 and 100 as well. This simple, old tablet only lists your 2 highest affinities. And what the fuck do you know, bitch? Maybe I'm great. He paused and let me ask questions. What would be my term of service in the army and the Legion of the Lion? He was unable to hide his grin, like he had hooked a fish. Just 5 years. The Empire will pay all your expenses. The Lion is an elite unit and will also take Outlanders. 5 years. But do not get your hopes up. Even though your potentials qualify you, remember that only 1 in 3 finish the training. If you fail, though, the only punishment is to be relegated to the regular army. He added, the Legionnaires are the elites. They get higher pay, better food, and are trained more thoroughly. As a Legionnaire, your pay is 5 silver and 40 copper per week. 5 times a soldier. What does the Legion do that is different from the army? I questioned. He gestured grandly, trying to sell me on it. They serve as the elite troops of the kingdom, guarding mages, serving as royal guards, and acting as elite troops in battle. The training is 7 months, much longer than the 7 weeks for a soldier, he elaborated. I considered it and decided to apply to the Legion of the Lion. I thought 7 months of training would be much better for my survivability than the 7 weeks I would get as a soldier. I said, somewhat confidently, the Legion of the Lion. The magistrate smiled and said, Great! I will take care of the paperwork. I later found out the magistrate got bonuses of 1 silver for each soldier he recruited and a quarter gold for each legionnaire he recruited. Fucking. Maybe the crafty magistrate had thought he had led me to make my decision for me, but I had my own reasons. For the next meal, my potato soup had meat added to it and a half loaf of a buttered bread. Hell yeah. I felt like I was a pig being fattened for slaughter now that I knew my fate. Or maybe not so much of a hell yeah. After 2 days, I was off in a wagon. I had a sealed letter with a copy of my tablet reading. Some city soldiers would be escorting me and others to the training camp. Without the amulet to translate, I felt isolated, but tried to stave off the depressing thoughts by focusing on the road and landscape, though only melancholy followed as I looked at the foreign sights. It was a 6-day trip, and the caravan stopped in small towns every night, adding more potential soldiers or legionnaires each time. I could not communicate, so I just observed and listened. Some words sounded familiar if I slowed down the speech and filtered the heavy accent. I needed to learn the language as quickly as possible, but no one wanted to take the time to help me. We had 7 guards and 4 open wagons. My guards and fellow recruits did not want to take the time to help me with my language barrier, so I did my best to pick up words. When I learned water was called aqua, I realized the language was based on Latin. Or maybe it was Latin. I took 3 years of Spanish in high school and only remembered how to say, "My name is Eric." So that's a nice way to say, now we found out his name, Eric. By the time we arrived at the camp, there were 24 recruits, including me. The main camp was for training soldiers. It looked like there were roughly 1,000 potential soldiers in training here, in groups of 25 as they marched in 5x5 blocks. I did not have much time to watch, as 21 recruits from my caravan got out here. 2 other larger recruits and I were brought to a smaller camp, the training camp for the Legion of the Lion, which was located at the large manor nearby. My 2 companions from the trip and I were brought inside a wooden barrack. About 3/4 of the beds were occupied. We took 3 of the open bunks. I immediately went to sleep, mentally and physically exhausted from my ordeal so far. Is that the end of the chapter? It was. Oh! I like it already. Oh, come out and say it. Shocking. I like it. Chapter 2. Legion Training. At breakfast, the meals they fed us were copious but bland. I had trouble eating as my new reality sank in. I listened intently to others speaking and heard familiarity in their speech, but could not place it. Some words almost made sense, but the heavy accent and rapid speech made it difficult to follow. There were no guards when I walked around the buildings. That surprised me, but I remained close to my assigned barracks and watched advanced classes training. They worked on conditioning, fighting with various weapons, coordinated marches, and small formations of 16 to 20 men. My stomach roiled as the muscular and fit men performed athletic stunts, well beyond anything I was ever capable of. I had lost weight since arriving, but my gut was still evident, and I was worried about what I had gotten myself into. Even more so when a man had his arm broken from a club. I turned away, almost losing my breakfast from seeing the bone sticking out. We waited 2 more days before all the bunks were filled. I was given a translation amulet. It was charged at breakfast by one of the mages who healed injuries, along with 5 others who apparently did not speak the native tongue. Hell yeah! The mage was named Damien, and after he gave me the amulet, he showed me how to wear it. Around your neck. You need to keep the cord tight to the amulet, remains around the throat. Oh, this way it is unlikely to get damaged. They are expensive, and if you were in the regular army, you would not even get one, Damien explained patiently. I was relieved to finally have the ability to talk to others. I held it in my hand and it looked like a closed pocket watch. How does it work? Damien answered patiently. Runic discs stacked in oriented sequence, powered by ether. That didn't help. I nodded as if any of that made sense to me. Dude, I can relate. I mean, all of us can. None of us know what ether is, but in general. Sure, fine, whatever. Since I knew Damien was one of the healers from watching the others train, I thought it might be a good idea to befriend him. If you have time, I would appreciate some language lessons without the amulet. Damien looked me over. Your body and mind are about to go through a daily gauntlet, but if you have the energy, find me after dinner. He left me to my own devices. With the amulet, I was finally able to talk with my comrades. All of them were in this 100-person barrack because they, like me, had opted to be soldiers rather than laborers to pay off their crimes. Most of the crimes were not as petty as mine, though, with lots of murderers and violent assault cases. Yeah, I would prefer if they were petty. I also found one benefit of the amulet. It always translated my speech at the same volume, so I could whisper a word and listen to the translation aloud. This annoyed the others in the barracks, so I usually practiced outside. Oh. I spent most of my free time connecting words and developing a vocabulary. I thought the language had some relation to English, and I rapidly added words to my mental dictionary. I was unsure whether it was me being a foreigner, my demeanor, or the fact that I just did not speak the language without the amulet, but I had difficulty making friends. After 2 days of relative freedom, our training began. You annoy them by trying to learn the language, which is rude. But I also think it's hard to make friends with these type of criminals. if your 4 crimes are petty and you say it's mostly murders and violent assault cases, it's like, yeah, those aren't the people you would want to be friends with anyway, but I understand the struggle still. And of course, not all of them is, because it's like most of them, but not all of them. No friends. There were 7 barracks, each with 100 bunks. When a barrack was full, the 7 months training began, usually on the first of the month. Each barrack had 7 instructors, and a large estate building housed all the command staff. The instructors also served as wardens. One of my group tried to escape before the first day of training, and he was promptly put on trial and executed. The follow-up speech by Silas, the Legion centurion in charge, was not pleasant. You leave the compound without permission of an instructor and you will be executed. Know that you cannot run. Our mages, indicated the 7 men behind him, will track you in minutes. You chose to be here to atone for your crimes and serve the Empire. He made a gesture, and one of the trainers grimly slid a long, pointed dagger under the shin and up into the brain of the violator. The defiant look on his face turned to horror as he died. I promptly vomited, and was not the only one. Then he can be friends with them. Hey, everyone who vomited, now we're all bullied. We can talk after the speech and become friends. The scene made me have second thoughts about my choice to enlist in the Legion, but also erased all thoughts of escape. 2 years of hard labor would have probably been a better alternative, but I already cast my dice. The dead man's bed was promptly filled with another recruit. I wasn't sure how many made up the command staff, but Damien, who lived in the estate, said it was more than 100, not including attendants. There were also more than the 7 mages who had been on display at the execution, but Damien said their number fluctuated between 10 and 15. I'm still astounded this guy just got isekai'd and is just adapting and not thinking about his past at all. We don't know anything about his past, but yeah. He hasn't mentioned it once. He's like, why? You know, he's very calm and collected. He's like, okay. He's very adaptable, it seems. I threw up. Let's be friends. Please. Exactly, I want to know about his past. We only know that his sister had a shotgun wedding in South Dakota. Was it his nephew? Maybe it was his nephew. Sorry, it was his nephew, not his sister. I feel like he mentioned his sister at some point though. And that he knows some Spanish. And that his name is Eric. With a Y, because he's cool. Yeah, we don't know that much about him yet. On the first morning, we ran with a weighted pack before breakfast. Then we ate a large meal as our bodies protested the abuse and yearned for sustenance to heal it. Next, we had a lecture about the Empire and the Legion, most of which sounded like propaganda to me. Bro really is taking a silent protagonist route. It seems like it. Maybe we'll get to know more. Our 7 instructors, everything is 7. It's insane. Our 7 instructors schooled us in hand-to-hand combat after the lecture, but the lesson was more about the instructors showing us how inadequate we were. A number of my fellows got broken noses, dislocated shoulders, or torn ligaments that required healing. The grim lessons caused several painful screams. On one of my turns, I got an elbow to the face and spit out my 2 broken front teeth. My instructor yelled at me. "Get your teeth, trainee. A mage can put them back, but they would not waste their ether to regrow them." I spat blood as I dropped to my knees and found them in the dirt. Damien washed and carefully lined them up before healing them. He patted me on the back, and I returned to training. Or, for lack of a better word, the beating. After hand-to-hand combat, we had another meal. I listened to the others complain as they ate, bonding over our hatred for the instructors, but still not accepting me. I was on the outside looking in, unable to break into any conversations. We were brought to a courtyard with a huge barrel of worn, dull swords. Oh, now it's time for us to show our strength. Our swordsmanship. Probably not. We were each given one of the blades, and the instructor spoke. Any battle is an intricate exchange of interconnected movements, with every move made to both guard and attack. Sometimes you push, sometimes you retreat. It does not matter which way you go. The one who fails to defend loses. A competent swordsman creates the situation in which his opponent fails. Then we were schooled in sword forms. We had to learn 7 sword forms. No one is surprised that it was 7. Each with 7 segments. Wow. We practiced with weighted swords, striving for perfect movements. If we were performing well, they would give us a heavier sword. My shoulders and arms were soon aching and struggling to hold the blade. At this point, I feel like this is like some cult of the 7 or some shit. After a few hours with the sword, we spent time with the instructors. Each one taught another weapon. Dagger, axe, bow, short sword, 2-handed sword, spear, and polearm. They told us our goal was not to master another weapon, but to learn enough to fight effectively against someone wielding them, except the bow. So we rotated every day between instructors in groups of 15. After the cross-weapon training, we did more fitness training until sunset. Then we had a shower fed by aqueduct, received healing if needed, and more food. The bland food suddenly tasted like ambrosia. Ambrosia? We had 2 hours to ourselves before the sun set and darkness filled the barracks. After the first day, I had trouble moving. My body just stopped responding due to the intense fatigue. The instructors did not scream and yell at me like in the movies. Instead, they offered calmly worded threats that I would be sent to the regular army if I could not keep going. That seemed to motivate the other men, and I also forced myself to continue. Convicted men in the army were usually sent to the front lines and used as fodder. At least, that was what the instructors told us. I pushed on to keep myself far away from such fate. Most of us slept during the free 2 hours. I, however, was outside working on the mastery of the language. I noticed one of the only 2 women in our barracks practicing with the staff. Her name was Helena. Hi, Helena. After a few days, we talked briefly while she spun her staff. Ooh. The other woman in our group usually moved from bed to bed at night. Okay. Whoring herself out for favors in combat classes. Bye, Helena. I mean, hello even more, Helena. After a few days, leaving Helena to her own devices, occasionally striking up a conversation with her while she practiced and I studied, she warmed up to me, and she invited me to a spar. Oh. You can talk while we practice. She tossed me a staff and I stood up, feeling my aching muscles. How can you still move, Helena? And why practice more? I approached her. Oh. You just need to tell your mind that your body doesn't hurt. The more practice I get, the better my chance of making it. What I lack in power, strength, and endurance, I must make up with skill and finesse. She went into a series of attacks. She slowed, seeing how terrible I was at defending. No, Helena, don't pity us. After some exchanges, I thought she was a good teacher. A teacher who did not like to talk, just demonstrated. Close to sunset, I asked her, "Why are you even here? You seem like a capable warrior. Right, what crime did she commit?" Helena huffed. Criminal debt. She did not elaborate, and I could tell she was not going to share more of that topic. From then on, I spent my evenings practicing with the staff. Getting my abused body to do the extra training was not easy, but I was quickly finding it easy to resist the pain, to convince myself that it did not hurt, like Helena said. At night, before falling asleep, I always tried my damnedest to charge the medallion myself. If there was magic in this world and I had a wisp of it, then I could make it work for me eventually. After 2 weeks of this, I thought I might be starting to feel the so-called ether, but I was unsure. My body was broken repeatedly during training, literally. We had good healers to repair our injuries. Torn ligaments, broken bones, concussions, cuts, internal bleeding, all of it was repairable with magic, if they got to you in time. I got healing just about every day and found myself just accepting the pain, getting numb to it, which one of the instructors told me was the point. Wow. It was a hallmark of a legionnaire, fighting when their body was broken. I was also told some legionnaires functioned better under the influence of pain. At least now I was able to function relatively normally with one broken arm. After surviving 3 weeks of hell, we were tested on the tablet. 14 of our 100 washed out of the test and were sent to the regular army training camp. Some of us were surprised, but after I talked with Damien, I found out the resources needed to train a legionnaire was 10 times that of the regular army. This meant Centurion Silas liked to call the groups early, which allowed our instructors to focus on the more promising men. What about Helena? The women? And the other one. Damien, who was one of the dozen mages administrating the testing, let me peruse my results on the paper after they were copied, but they are probably not legionnaires. The women, that is. Because I assume. Because I don't remember what they said about them. Most of the other soldiers just had their results copied and sent away. Making friends with the man had been a boon for me. Okay, let's fucking see here. Physical strength plus 10. Hell yeah. Power plus 7. Quickness plus 2. Dexterity plus 3. Endurance plus 11. Constitution plus 3. Coordination plus 7. Mental, intellect, nothing. Plus 0. Reasoning plus 2. Perception plus 1. Insight plus 1. Resilience plus 0. Empathy plus 0. Fortitude plus 6. Ether pool plus 0. Channeling plus 1. Ether shaping plus 1. Ether tolerance plus 0, ether resistance plus 0. And it's still space and time on the prime ether affinity and minor ether affinity. My physical stats had made good progress. I was more curious to see my magical skills, which had barely moved. But still, they had moved. Yeah, I'm surprised. So the hour I had spent every night trying to charge my amulet had done something. It gave me the motivation to continue the effort. Hell yeah. After the tablet reading, we had a large round of combat competitions over 3 days to rank the remaining 86 members of the squad. I placed 48th in hand combat, 37th in sword combat, 77th with daggers, and 29th with sword and shield. Oh, sword and shield then. It had been the first time we had been given a shield, so I thought I did well. I was surprised I had done so well, but then again, most of the men in the barracks had not been warriors before coming here. Then, in a sort of awards ceremony, the top 3 placers in each combat got a minor essence of strength or power for a reward. The small marble-sized balls were dark purple or orange, which the winners eagerly consumed. What is an essence? From Damien, I found out there were two effects of essences. One, they could raise your potential in a stat, and the other was they could raise your attribute without having to bust your ass in training. After just 3 weeks of training, the bottom 3 performers were sent to the army camp, reducing our barracks number to 83. I asked Damien about essence. There were 3 categories, each magnitudes more potential than the last. The minor essences that were awarded were by no means cheap and could be purchased anywhere from 1 to 20 gold, depending on their stat. Physical essences were the most common and the cheapest. Magical essences were the rarest and the most expensive, while mental essences were somewhere in between. The efficiency of an essence depended on a few factors, whether the stat was already advanced compared to the person's potential. Consuming the essence while also training for the stat helped, and it was also rumored that relying on essences to raise your capabilities would eventually lead to no changes, but only the richest and nobility would be able to consume such amounts to hit the essence wall. Apparently, a rule of thumb was that below half one's potential, up to 30 or so minor essences would be needed to raise a stat by 1 point without any training. Beyond that, minor essences did not have enough power to help raise their capabilities. At that point, major essences would be needed. Major essences were about 1 inch in diameter and, compared to minor essences, were approximately 10 times as potent. Where 30 minor essences were needed for an increase, only 3 major ones did the job. So they're hella nice. They also had a palpable effect up to 80% of a person's potential without training. They could be bought for anywhere from 50 to 500 gold. What? That's expensive. The third kind was apex essences. They were a bit larger than 1.5 inches in diameter, about the size of a golf ball. Capable of raising stats beyond 80% and, more importantly, apparently capable of raising one's potential. They were rare and beyond expensive. A few hundred gold were the least you could expect to pay, probably 1,000 or more gold if they were the magical stats. Only. I spent the next 3 weeks of training extremely focused on improving my combat skills. The instructors noticed and gave me more attention in practice sessions. I did not want to fall below the imaginary line that would have me sent to the regular army. Yeah, then we have to leave Helen. If I was going to survive in this world, I also needed this training. I found my body acclimating to its new reality, and most of my excess body fat was gone after just 6 weeks. The next tablet testing, 3 weeks later, yielded good results for me. Okay, let's fucking see. Strength +6, power +7, quickness +3, dexterity +1, endurance +6, constitution +2. Nice physical improvement. Mental, intellect +0, reasoning +0, perception +3, insight +1, resilience +1, empathy +0. Ether pull +1. And all the other 0. No, ether resistance. No. Did he get a new one? Am I tripping? Because it doesn't say time anymore on the other prime thingy. Wait, what? Ether resistance? Did he have ether resistance before? 319? I feel like that's new. Or maybe that was the one that says time and now he has 319? Oh, there it is. Okay, my bad. They were just on the next page. Okay, coordination also +12 is good. 42 +12, that's high. +7 fortitude, and the time and space still there. The tester only recorded my physical and mental stats, ignoring the magic column again. I had substantial gains in my physical stats and was benefiting from all the weapon practices. My mental fortitude potential had increased from 88 to 89. I asked the tablet testing mage about it. It was not Damien this time, but my goodwill among the mages seemed to have spread. He checked the records. A single point in potential increase is not unheard of, The tablet's calibration could be off, or you could have just been on the cusp between values. You should not worry about it. Do not be surprised if it is back to 87 on your next reading. I had placed myself to be last in line so I could review my scores, and the 3 mages administrating the test packed up the 3 tablets they were using carefully and left. 6 people were expelled from our barracks after the tablet testing, bringing our number to 77. Oh, that has to be it then. That's the magical number. I did not even bother to figure out who they were. Rumors spread among us that the goal was to finish with 30 legionnaires. Okay. The top 6 in our class, not top 7, would be sent to the capital to join the Royal Legion, and the remaining 27 would form a platoon under the command of a mage and be sent on missions across the Telian Empire. Combat competition was fairly intense this time around, as everyone realized they might have to go to the regular army joining the border. As was the fate of the army conscripts, and life expectancy was not very high. I finished 19th in sword ranking, 24th in sword and shield, 29th in dagger, and 9th in hand-to-hand. Wow! We were also tested on our marksmanship with a bow, and I finished 60th. Once again, prize essences were handed out to the top 3 for each event, and 3 more soldiers were cut. 74 of us remained. Oh, I guess more could lose. We were shockingly given a day off. It was our first free day in 6 weeks of intensive training. I noticed another man shedding quiet tears of joy when it was announced. Oh. Befriend him! Befriend! Chapter 3. Beaten but not broken. On my day off, I spent my morning swimming in the lake that fed the showers at camp. We ran by the lake on one of our longest runs. I had made sure it was allowed before I headed up to the lake, and one of my trainers confirmed I would not be killed for swimming there, but remain close to the shore. There was a watchtower up there, and the 2 guards said I should just remain on the banks under it, and I would be fine. The last thing I wanted was to be executed for trying to escape. I was sitting on the bank, admiring my leaner and fitter body, when one of the mages came down to the bank with a fishing pole. Looking up, I noticed it was Damien. Hi, Damien. I'm just admiring my body. What do you think, Damien? He had healed me many times. He has touched me many times. Usually charged my translation amulet and helped me with the language. Well, you seem close. We started talking while he fished, and I asked him more questions about magic. Damien, what is the difference between a spell, form, and actual magic? I asked while he cast over and over, something akin to fly fishing. He was very patient with me as he explained. In order to cast a spell, a mage has to channel ether into a construct. Constructs come in 3 forms. They can be a physical device with an embedded spell form, like the amulet you are wearing, or they can be imprinted permanently onto a person's ether core. Although each affinity on a person's core can only accept one such inscription. But what really defines a true mage is the last method, being able to create a spell form in the air, shaping the ether into a usable construct. Once the spell form is created in either of the 3 methods, you need only channel ether into it to generate the spell's effect. Give me your translation amulet, Eric. I removed the device and handed it to him, while he put down his fishing pole. He proceeded to disassemble the device, showing 6 stacked discs inside. Each disc was comprised of complex runes. He assembled the device, orienting the discs on a tab, charged it, and handed it back to me. He continued. You can see how difficult it would be to write out all 6 sets of runes, maintain their form, and then channel ether to cast the comprehension spell. Yes, I could maybe write one from memory if I studied it for a while, but all 6? I responded with a new appreciation of mages. There are some simpler spells with only 3 layers, but it is not just writing them with ether in the air. You have to do it fast enough that they do not dissipate and keep them all oriented correctly. Even if someone had a strong affinity, only 1 in 1,000 of those people can control their ether and truly cast spells. Mages are highly valued throughout the world. He sighed. I am not a true mage. All my spells are imprinted spell forms. Can anyone add spell forms onto their core to cast spells? I inquired hopefully. Yes and no. It is not too difficult. Once one can feel and manipulate ether and has a strong enough affinity with one of the magical aspects, they could either learn it by a happenstance or imprint one using a visual representation of the spell form. Having the right mindset will also help when imprinting a spell form. Generally, you need at least 10 in the affinity to imprint a spell form successfully. With less than 10, it is extremely uncommon to be able to imprint one. He picked up his pole and continued to fish. After a while, I asked, so people generally don't have affinities over 10? He looked over at me curiously. Usually, everyone is tested when they are 15, or at the latest 16. Do they not do that where you are from? I remained calm and responded, no, it is reserved just for the nobility. Ooh, good answer. He nodded in understanding. A waste. You never know where the next great mage might come from, but everyone always has some affinity for at least one of the magics. It is usually small. Between 5 and 6 is normal. Secondary affinities are usually half of the primary. He considered for a moment. If you have never been tested, maybe your primary affinity is strong enough to create a spell from form on your core. If you wish, I can try to obtain an attunement stone or an assessment tablet when it passes through. They are expensive and usually only found in large cities. I would appreciate that, Damien, I replied with a hopeful smile. He nodded and cast again. No smile back. I'm actually quite well versed in the process. I cannot create spell forms in the air, but have 7 different spell forms inscribed in my core. He held up his finger to demonstrate, and a steady flame appeared on it. This is my fire affinity spell form. I only have 8 affinity with fire, so this was all I could manifest. Still, it is useful in lighting fires. He smiled triumphantly. His smile fell. Oh, that was fast. Your affinities were space and time. I nodded. Do not get your hopes up. They are rare magics, which usually means a lower strength in the attribute. Oh, so the affinities are actually space and time? For some reason, my dumb brain was like, he needs space and it takes time. I didn't thought it was actually like the affinity to space and time. I assume everyone else got that, probably, but I didn't. But now I get it. Oh, that's cool. Oh, well. How strong is your healing affinity? I asked. He smiled at my curiosity. Now there's a lot of smiles being exchanged here, I'm noticing. Generally, it is impolite to ask a person their affinity strength, but my healing affinity is 54. It is my second strongest affinity. My spell form can heal another person's flesh, organs, and bones. Damien was one of the best healers in the camp, and I had been administrated to him many a time. I pressed hopefully. Can you teach me some basics ether shaping exercises? I have a potential of 8 in shaping and would like to improve. Damien frowned. I thought your shaping was something like that. In order to create a spell form and cast spells like a true mage, it is considered a requirement to have a minimum score of 40 in ether shaping. Wow. We're off. My own score is 27 after years of practice, and my potential is only slightly higher. I did try anyways, and unexpectedly failed. Seeing my downcast expression, he tried to cheer me up. You might still be able to create a spell form, Eric. I will see about borrowing a tablet if it passes through, and I will also teach you the 2 basic exercises for ether shaping. We spent the next 2 hours as teacher and student. The 2 exercises were focused on visualization and meditation. Once you feel the ether, you can manipulate it with your mind and within your body. It was late in the day when we finished, and I thanked him in return for dinner, since I had missed lunch while I was out swimming. I laughed because it said finished. I planned to double up on my calories. I kept my routine over the next 3 weeks. Eventually, I could manifest the feeling of my ether in my core with exercises Damien had imparted. It was difficult and mentally taxing, and my control was crude, like kneading a dough ball in my core. My mental exhaustion did not help during the morning fitness training the following day, so I needed to temper my magical aspirations or risk being sent to the army. The next wave of testing was upon us, and I was very curious to see my results. Okay, here we go. Now we have the full board this time. Physical strength +2, power +2, quickness +2, dexterity +2, endurance +3, constitution +4, coordination +2. Mental +1. Here we go. Intellect. Reasoning +3, perception +1, insight +6, resilience +2, empathy +0, fortitude +1. Magical ether pool +1, channeling +2, ether shaping +3, ether tolerance +1, ether resistance +0, and then it's space and time. The tester raised his eyebrows while writing down my new stats in the log. I again sneaked a peek at my magic stats and saw great improvements. My next goal was to be able to charge my amulet by myself. I could now communicate in the common tongue without the amulet, but my vocabulary was still limited. It appeared the language was derived from Latin, but I was not a linguist. I found out the amulet cost 20 gold, even though it was extremely old. It would not be going with me when I graduated, so I needed a good grasp of the language before then. 6 more soldiers were cut after the tablet readings by Silas, bringing our number to 68. The competitions did not go as well as I had hoped. I finished 23rd in sword ranking, 30th in sword and shield, 25th in dagger, and 7th in hand-to-hand. We were also tested on spearmanship for the first time, and I finished 3rd. Oh, essence! All of the practice with the staff and Helena had greatly helped. All the practice with the staff and all the practice with Helena had greatly helped. Helena was the only woman left in the barracks. Oi, what happened to her? The other woman had been cut at tablet testing. Oh, so they are okay. Oh. Now Helena was constantly harassed. No, she was not in danger of getting raped because if she was, the man would have been executed the next day. Oh, sweet. But she did have to deal with constant requests. Requests, I see. I would have helped her, but I don't give a fuck. I'm with Damien now. But I was outnumbered and did not want the small cliques of men to focus their attention on me. No. Understandable, but yeah. Some men had taken to sharing in each other's company at night, unable to go without. Unable? Unable to go without? Really? I quickly turned my thoughts to myself, as that was not my preference. Rip Damien. And I imagined that maybe after I graduated, I could find some intimacy. Until then, some intense training would keep me distracted. For finishing 3rd in the spear competition, I was awarded an essence. The awards were announced after 3 more men were dismissed, bringing our number to 65. I was worried as I was called to choose my essence. In the office of Centurion Silas, I was asked, "Which physical attribute do you seek?" I thought about my shortcomings in combat. My lower speed and agility were what cost me the most in practice, so I needed to choose quickness, dexterity, or coordination. My lagging stat was dexterity, so I decided on that to increase my accuracy with my blade. Dexterity, I responded after thinking. Centurion Silas thought my indecision was amusing and handed me the tiny, faintly glowing yellow pearl, maybe closer to a marble's size. Seeing my confusion, the Centurion said, "Just swallow it. Savor it if you want. The first time is always the best." Drugs. Damn. I went outside and examined the ball for a long time. I imagined what kind of power was contained within and how much potential was stored in the small item. If I wanted to remain, I needed this reward to make a difference in my combat skills. I swallowed and concentrated intently on it as it dissolved and entered my stomach. I focused on the electric shocks in my veins and nerves that caused my muscles to twitch for a few minutes. When it ended, I did not feel any different. I did not know if I should have expected more, but I definitely did not transform into a nimble warrior. We had a day off, and I hoped to meet Damien again at the lakeshore. But he never came to fish. Aww. I spent the next 3 weeks backing off my magic training and getting more rest to focus on my weapon skills. I could not afford to slide down in the rankings and get cut. The threat of being sent to the regular army kept me motivated. After being at the camp for 12 weeks, for the first time, I went with confidence to the tablet testing. I knew I had made ground on some of the others and was looking forward to the competitions after the testing. I was thinking, Eric, such a girl, going back to maybe he will come back and fish. I will not ask him. He will be here. And I was like, he didn't come. Well, physical, strength +2, power +1, quickness +1, dexterity +4, endurance +1, constitution +2, and coordination +3. Mental, intellect +0, reasoning +0, perception +0, insight +1, resilience +0, empathy +0, fortitude +2, ether pool +1, channeling +1, ether shaping +0, ether tolerance +0, ether resistance +0. I was happy to see my dexterity improve by 4 points, and my dexterity potential even increased by 1 point. The tester recording my data paused when he got to my dexterity. He looked at my past reading and today's reading a few times before continuing to copy my stats to my records, just shrugging. My physical attributes had improved significantly, so I looked forward to the ranking competition. I was not surprised my magic barely improved. I usually just played with mana while I was taking a shit now. I haven't given up on my hopes of becoming a mage. How does he play with mana while taking a shit? What do you say? Instead of fucking sitting on the toilet playing Clash of Clans, he does mana? Oh, beautiful. Also, the nightly sessions caused fatigue the next day, affecting my training. That day, I did not pay attention to people being pulled out, but noticed only 58 beds in the barracks were filled when we returned to prepare for the sword ranking portion of the competition. With our numbers reduced, the testing was only going to take 2 days this time. I finished 15th with the sword, 19th with sword and shield, 22nd with the dagger, and 5th in hand-to-hand. It was mostly thanks to my improved accuracy. Having trained with the same people for so long, I caught them off guard. We were also ranked with polearms for the first time, and I finished 11th. Congratulations. After getting noticeable results, I wished I had earned another essence, but I did not. If we had competed with the spear, I would have had a shot, but there was just too many men ahead of me in the ranking of the other weapons. Only the bottom 2 soldiers were cut after the competition this time, leaving 56 of us, close to half. Helena was still with us. Hell yeah. And we still practiced in the evenings. Oh. She did not like to talk. It's a preference, but I think she likes my companionship. Oh. And despite being near the bottom in the rankings, she managed to deliver quite the beating. Helena? Please. I talked to her about her position, and she was not concerned. Female legionnaires are rarer than horns on a horse. If I made it this far, I will probably make it and get assigned to special duty guarding a minor female noble related to a duke or count. It was more words than she had spoken in a week, and it was all I got out of her. We had another off day, and I ran into Damien fishing. Oh my god, dude. Focus on one. Who do you want? He's everywhere. He's like, fuck it. I initiated a conversation. Of course you did. Damien, Do you know how we are eliminated based on our results? He considered what to say. The Centurion decides based on the tablet testing. Sometimes it is the lowest summed physical attributes, but not always. He talks with the trainers and removes men he feels will not be good legionnaires. If you're not working hard, then you are at risk, he advised. How am I performing? I asked hesitantly. Damien thought for a moment. You work hard, but of the men, you are 25th or 26th in the summed physical stat pool rankings. At least 3 weeks ago, I think that was where you ranked. My heart thudded. If only 30 men graduated, I was close to the bottom of the hierarchy in my physical performance. Damien added, the Centurion leans heavily on the weapons testing, Eric. If you are in the top 20 for sword and shield, you will be safe from the tablet cuts the following tablet testing. The men sent to the larger cities to patrol the streets fight primarily with the sword and shield, so I think that is why he stresses it. That alleviated some of my concerns, and I had decent skills with the sword now, and had just finished 19th in the ranking. Damien added, the instructor and Centurion were actually discussing you the other day, Eric. Oh. You made a sizable jump in your skills since the last testing. I nodded, realizing a lot of that had to do with essence I consumed. It had given me better control of my blade. I could see why essences were so valuable. Damien returned to his fishing, thinking I was done asking questions. But oh, how wrong he was. He caught 2 decent-sized fish while I relaxed in the cool air under the shade of a tree. I came up with some more questions. I rarely had this opportunity, and my fellow soldiers were mostly ignorant. They were also assholes, for the most part. It was not like a normal army where camaraderie was the goal. This Legion training seemed to be about improving and outdoing your fellow soldiers. Yeah, because otherwise you'll go into the regular-ass army. I asked Damien, what are typical gains between readings for people? He looked contemplative and said, between 10 and 14 is normal after the first 3 weeks, then 6 to 10 each of the following testing periods. I considered I was doing all right then. I might have even moved up faster than most of the others. I had probably improved by 13 or 14 points in this last period alone. Damien caught a 3rd fish, damn, he's going, and started packing up. He said, I heard they plan to send your cohort on a little adventure. There have been some red goblins attacks at the village 100 miles from here, and the Centurion decided you all could use a change of scenery. Oh, goblins. You are going out on a little training patrol. With that, he smiled, turned, and went to cook his fish. Oh shit, goblins. Chapter 4. Why are red goblins brown? I am invested. The following day, we learned we were just taking our training on the road. Our destination was over 100 miles away. My squad had 2 woodsmen, 2 instructors, and 2 mages assigned to us, but they all rode horses. Meanwhile, we spent our time at the fast march with heavy backpacks, leather armor, spears, swords, and shields. When we stopped, we were either eating or training. Sleeping outside was not fun either, as the temperature dropped overnight and our packed bedrolls were made of thin wool. We even had to spend 4 hours on night watch duty. The woodsmen and instructors schooled us in those duties. I spent my free hours with the woodsmen as well. Helena was in the other squad, traveling a separate route, so I could not get additional staff practice. The woodsmen showed me basic camping and foraging skills. There were 6 plants I came to identify as edible, filling, and nutritious. 2 were roots having bulbs that could be found year-round, but you needed to peel and boil them. 2 were nuts from trees, a little uncommon, very bitter, and made your urine very pungent. Using the urine to pee around your campsite at night would keep most wild animals from your camp. What the fuck? Okay. The last 2 edibles were sap from shrubs. Both were very sugary. You had to be careful just to drink the sap from the hollow stem, as eating the stem would give you massive abdominal cramping and diarrhea. We did not see any wild game on our outings, but one of the woodsmen did try to show me how to identify game trails and animal passings. Yeah, wilderness survival training. Dude, you have to piss around the camp. If you eat these nuts, you have to piss. You don't understand. It's so good. It took 5 days to reach the farm that had been attacked. The mages and instructors rode out to question the inhabitants of the farms nearby. We got a chance to rest, but I walked the nearby woods with the woodsman who had been instructing me. We found trails with small humanoid prints. We were lucky as it had not rained, leaving the evidence easy to find. The woodsman guessed the farm had been attacked by 6 to 8 of the red goblins. We identified the direction they had left in by the trail of chicken feathers and footprints. Soon the mages returned with the instructors. The family that lived at the farm had moved to a neighboring farm for shelter. We headed out with the 2 woodsmen leading the way. The going was slow, and I was put on the left flank, 10 yards out, since I was slightly better at moving quietly. Another soldier walked the right flank. The 2 woodsmen and 2 of our best soldiers were in the vanguard. The main body of the force trailed 50 yards back with the horses, mages, and our trainers ready to support. One of the woodsmen hand-signed a trap to the lead element. We all stopped and waited. It was only 2 heartbeats later that all hell broke loose. 2 goblins I did not notice broke from my left, less than 8 feet away, and more of them attacked our center. My first thought was that they looked more brown than red, and then I got my wits about me. I interposed my sword and got ready to react. Amazing first thought. Well, hey, wait a minute. I deflected the wooden spear aimed at me and put the attacking goblin between me and the other goblin. This would give me only 1 foe for a short time. I tried to bash the closer goblin with my shield, but it had already backed away. The other goblin began to circle, and sounds of combat erupted from our center and right flank. I figured I would need to hold out for at least 15 seconds for our main force to close in. The 2 goblins I faced were 120 degrees apart and attacked in a coordinated lunge. Using my shield, I cleared the spear on my right. The sword in my left hand mostly deflected the other spear. It cut my armor near my ribs, not reaching my flesh, but I was able to move forward past the spears. Now, between the goblins, I swung my sword in a short, powerful arc, clipping the right-hand goblin's head, and taking a chunk of the skull with the hit. Ew. Using the swing's momentum, I came around quickly to face the other goblin with my shield. I saw anger and fear mixed in its human-like eyes. It hesitated, so I pushed forward, deflecting the spearhead down with a shield and using my sword to hack at its arms. I took off one of its hands, surprising both of us. As the goblin froze in shock, a quick slash to its neck ended its life. This all took less than 8 heartbeats. I scanned the left flank, looking for other threats. Seeing nothing, I turned to help the center. One of the woodsmen was on the ground with the 2 soldiers, and the other woodsman was protecting him. At least 8 goblins had them surrounded, with more goblins coming to assist. The main force was still about 30 yards back. My training was to fall in and support the center, but looked at the circling goblins, I rushed the flank. I started a heavy run and used my shield to barrel into one goblin, driving it into another. Unfortunately, my feet got tangled, and I went down in a mess on smelly goblin limbs. Ew. I felt a pain in my ass and assumed I had just gotten a spear in my left ass cheek, or he drank some of that thing and now he has diarrhea. As I rolled away, I was able to slam the hilt of my sword into the eye of a goblin on the ground, crushing its orbital cavity. I had to release my shield or risk getting stuck on the ground in the tangle. Standing, I backed toward my companions. The odds were better now. 6 goblins and 4 of us. The goblins had noticed our main force, and the goblins coming to reinforce suddenly screamed, "Flee!" and turned to run. I only understood the goblin speech because of my amulet. The 6 goblins bolted. I pursued and cut down one immediately with the diagonal slash across its back. I took down a second slower goblin that had a limp, and then paused, realizing I was alone. I had forgotten my training and pursued the goblins due to my surging adrenaline. I backed up and returned to the main force. The mages came and healed the injured woodsman and our minor injuries. I had a puncture in my ass cheek and had bled a fair amount, soaking my pants with blood. My pain tolerance was high from the training, but getting the healing from Damien and drinking some fluid... I was caught off guard of the thought of Damien healing his ass. With all the jokes we've been doing. Anyway, but getting the healing from Damien and drinking some fluid replacement was still a relief. Looking at the goblin bodies, I felt mildly ill. I had killed a sapient being, but I did not have long to dwell as the instructors quickly had us moving. You killed one sapient being. You approach. You were like, I want to kill them more. They're fleeing. I will kill them. But sure, you can still feel bad. We soon formed 2 lines and moved forward. 10 minutes later, we came to the goblin camp. 20 or so goblins were packing up what they could. Seeing us approaching, they fled. We charged when ordered. I killed 2 more in the chaos, but they were both clearly females. What? Okay. The mages shot lightning at a few goblins that had gotten too far away for us to engage in melee. In all, maybe 3 goblins managed to escape. Then one of the mages took out a large runic disc and tried to suck essence out of the goblins. It was fascinating to watch as the larger device was placed on the body and blue wisps coalesced on the device to form a sphere. 1 out of 5 gave a minor essence. In total, he collected 5 essences from 27 goblins. I was quickly assigned to assist 2 woodsmen in tracking and killing the escaped goblins. 2 other soldiers came with us. After 6 hours of pursuit, we managed to get only 1 goblin. The woodsman had us return in the moonlight night. The moon of this world was much larger than Earth's, and its strong blue light made it feel like constant twilight. Pretty. We had been gone for over 10 hours. I was exhausted and had bruises and numerous chef marks on my flesh. However, I had no time to rest and was debriefed by the instructors upon returning. I got yelled at for my reckless and undisciplined attacks in the initial contact. After being told of all my errors multiple times, I was able to retire and quickly fell asleep after eating some leftover cold stew. I was able to sleep until mid-morning, mostly because the woodsman had asked not to be woken before then, which meant the 3 soldiers who accompanied them got the same treatment. I ate 3 breakfast portions. While I ate, I was next to one of the mages. We got into a conversation, and he told me about the loot they collected. The big haul was 4 minor dexterity and 1 minor strength essence. The goblins had about 60 copper coins and some iron tools. He indicated the pile that had been assembled while I was hunting the goblins yesterday. Damien added, "The coins and tools will be given to the farmer, so he can replace some of his livestock." "Is that the only way to make essences?" I asked him, indicating the runic shield by the other mage. The mage tapped the large disc. "Yes, condensing life force from living beings or recent corpses. The collectors are expensive to artifice. Artifice? You were lucky I wanted to come out here and stretch my riding legs." He had a self-satisfied aura that was easy to dislike. "Could it be used on a human as well?" I asked, my curiosity getting the better of me. Both mages gave me a strange look, though Damien did answer. "Yes. Some cultures believe consuming the essence of your defeated foe is your right. Others believe it should be passed on to their children, and others think they need the strength to suffice in the afterlife in Pluto's realm." Oh, Pluto! Damn! "You said it could be used on live beings," I said to the first mage. He seemed uncomfortable with the question. "Do they not have collectors in your lands, or are you just from some mud hole in the wild?" He stood and walked away, taking the collector with him. Okay, fine, asshole. After he was a distance away, Damien answered my question. "When used on live creatures, it has a much higher probability of forming an essence. It was outlawed in the Italian Empire and is now only used to execute criminals. He pointed at the mage. He used to work in the big cities before performing the execution. He has probably killed dozens of men with that collector in the last decade. Ripping life force from a living person changes you. I nodded in understanding. I had not quite come to grips with killing goblins, though it helped that they looked more monstrous than human. But as a soldier, I was going to have to eventually kill another man. I was not looking forward to that day. I turned the topic to magic. Can you tell me more about the magic affinities? Damien smiled and went into teaching mode. There are 3 rarities of magic: common, uncommon, and rare. Each one has 7 affinities, for a total of 21 known magical affinities. Eric, both of your affinities fall into the rare category. We know this. What are the rare affinities? I leaned in close to listen. Damien smiled as he listed them. The 7 rare affinities are space, time, displacement, materialism, void, worlds, and convergence. Void and worlds? I mean, space and time is cool. He shifted to face me. Space is primarily the ability to create pocket dimensions. Ooh. Time is limited control over time, usually speeding or slowing time around the mage. Displacement is the ability to teleport. Displacement mages are extremely rare and valuable in the Empire. They operate the portals in the larger cities. Damien paused to take a drink. No way. Am I Damien? Okay. Oh, funny. He still had my attention when he continued. Materialism is summoning objects from nothing, but it breaks the second covenant of magic that objects cannot be created from nothing. There is a lot of debate about whether the objects are summoned or created. Void magic is eliminating something from existence. Ooh. It is extremely rare magic, and anyone with its affinity is sent to the Mage College in the capital for study. Now, world magic is the ability to move between planes, traveling the cosmos like a great adventurer. He dwelled for a moment in the idea of traveling between the stars. Yeah, that's cool. Finally, convergence is the rarest of all the rare magics. It allows a mage to draw mana from the environment, specifically a ley line convergences. Essentially, the mage could have an infinite well of ether under the correct circumstances, and thus wield tremendous power. Oh, that's crazy. Damien finished with a flourish, standing to leave. Eric, I know your strongest affinity is space. I do not want to get your hopes up, but if you successfully complete the Legionnaire training, the Centurion is considered testing you to see if you can learn Dimensional Pocket. Ooh. Since you have a low potential in ether shaping, you would have to imprint the spell form on your ether core to learn it. So, worlds is how we got here, maybe. Could be. Interesting, yeah. Didn't think of that. What exactly is a dimensional pocket? I asked. I thought it could be this as well. The dimensional pocket. That he did it himself somehow? I don't know. Damien nodded and continued. It creates a private space from which a mage can put and pull items. Okay, not then. My bad. They are usually small, but even a legionnaire with a small space could be enlisted as a royal messenger. But do not get your hopes up. When I can get a tablet, we can see if your affinity for the space is at least 10. Damien reiterated my poor chances. Most people have affinity ratings around 5 in their primary affinity. It is one of the reasons they have not checked you. They assumed you would have been evaluated in your homeland and, if you had any potential, would have utilized it. I have not told anyone you have never been tested. I was 25, and Damien had said it was common for people in the capital or a large city in the Telian Empire to have all their affinities checked when they turned 15. So he's only 25. Learning more. Damien was called away to attend to an injury. I was gaining a lot of benefits from my friendship with the mage. That he was willing to keep my secrets was a great benefit, along with the preferential healing he gave me. Unlike most of the other men, I had no scars from all the healing I had received while training. It was a few more days before we packed up and returned to the training camp. We had no luck in locating more goblins. The instructor said they probably crawled down a hole to breed for the winter, and he would have to come back again next year. We learned the other squad had killed 48 goblins and lost 3 of their members, who rushed into the other goblin camp. After returning, we had 2 days off and were tested again on the tablet. Okay, here we go. Physical strength +2, power +1, quickness +2, dexterity, it doesn't say, +1, endurance +5, constitution +4, coordination +1, mental +0, intellect, reasoning +2, perception +3, insight +1, resilience +1, empathy +1, fortitude +4, magical ether pool +1, channeling +0, ether shaping +0, ether tolerance +0, ether resistance +0. Okay, 0 magic. I made modest gains for myself, but Damien said I was doing well, and as long as I didn't get myself killed, I would graduate. For weapons testing, I finished 11th in sword ranking, 18th in sword and shield, 22nd in dagger, and 7th in hand-to-hand. I realized that 2 of the men killed had been ahead of me in the rankings. They had done something foolish like myself, rushing alone into combat with multiple foes and no support. We were also competing in dual-wield sword skills, which none of us were familiar with. Somehow I finished 11th. I liked this style because I could alter which hand was defending and which was attacking, surprising my opponent. I also found from all the training that I was slightly ambidextrous. Oh! One of the trainers said I had the mentality for a 2-weapon fighting style. Unfortunately, they only taught it here, so we would be familiar with it when facing an opponent wielding 2 weapons. 3 had been dropped after testing, and another 5 were cut after the competition. This left 46 of us. The strange thing was that we actually started forming bonds. Oh! Putting our unit against a common foe had broken down the walls of competition against each other. I do not know if it had been planned, but it made life in the barracks more bearable for me. We had light training as our instructors had to travel to the army camp. We were not told the reason. 42 of the 49 instructors left for 2 days. Only 40 returned, and even Damien was in the dark as to why, but he assumed they were taking command of units to reinforce a fort. During the lighter training days, I had the opportunity I was waiting for. Damien excitedly said the estate had a magic affinity tablet. They were expensive, and this one was only going to be here for 2 days as it was on its way back to the Mage College in the capital. He conspired to bring it to the lake so I could check my ability in the space affinity privately. His offer almost sounded like a trap, but I agreed. Damien brought the tablet and said, I have configured it to display rankings of all the rare affinity magics. The tablet can only display the common, uncommon, or rare magics one at a time. He showed me how it was set to do so. Are you going to see my scores? I asked as he carefully handed me the tablet. He seemed to consider and, maybe judging by my anxiety, said, No, you can keep the information to yourself. Then why are you helping me? I said, confused. He seemed uncomfortable. I'm a bit of a loner. Aww, Damien! You are the first soldier in my time here who actually made an effort to befriend me. You are a decent person, unlike most of the men and women who come here to be legionnaires. Oh. Well, score 1 for me for not wanting to die. Damien, precious Damien. I looked at the tablet. It was much fancier than the general ability tablet. Just like charging the amulet, push your ether into this section, Damien indicated. I did as instructed and looked at my scores. It took time as I had barely learned the written language. It was similar to Latin, but it took a while to translate word by word in my head. Damien likely thought my concentration was due to disappointment. I looked up and asked, What do the scores mean? Damien pursed his lips like he was about to break bad news to me. True mages usually have 3 or 4 affinities over 60, typically in the same rarity category. The average person only has 1 affinity, with the score around 5. The higher the number in an affinity, the more power exponentially. 10 is the recognized minimum to demonstrate power. What are we thinking? Is he gonna be like... Because they've held this information from us for so long now. I feel 99. I feel like it's gonna be high. It has to be high. Or it's trash. But why would it be trash? Like, he's doing quite well with the other stuff. Pick a number. Fuck, I don't know. Because it can't be like, oh, it's 100. Like, what? You know? True mages usually have 3 or 4 affinities over 60. True mages in the same rarity category. The average person only has 1 affinity with a score around 5. He definitely has more than 5. 10 is the recognized minimum. There's no way he has 10, right? He has to have more. 50? Then we have room for improvement because he can't just be amazing already, right? Maybe 50? I don't know. Yeah, fuck it, 50. So, any magic affinity under 10 is essentially useless, I asked, looking at the tablet again. Oh no, does he have very little? Damien nodded. A score of 20 is twice as strong as a score of 10. Thanks, Damien. From there, the real power starts. A score of 30 is 4 times the relative power of 10. 40 is 8 times. 50 is 16 times. 60 is 32 times as strong. Okay, maybe he doesn't have 50 then. I don't know. I interrupted to finish for him. 70 is 64 times as strong. A score of 80 is 128 times as strong. Damien held up his hand to stop me. Correct. But maybe only 1 in 25,000 people have an affinity over 70. Maybe 1 in 100,000 have an affinity at 80. Scores of 90 are unheard of and are 256 times as powerful as a 10. Maybe 1 in a million would have an affinity at 90 or higher. How do I clear my scores? I asked. He showed me and I did so and handed him back the tablet. Why was this tablet here? A peasant girl was found with powerful elemental affinities. She was flying over the forest. Can you believe that? I heard she had fire, air, water, and earth all at 72. Can you imagine how powerful that girl is going to be one day? Damien said excitedly. He asked the question solemnly. So, can you? Is your space affinity over 10? I nodded and his eyes brightened. Excellent! Okay, so it's over 10. We can start working on learning the dimensional pocket spell if you want. I can show you all the tricks I learned in my time imprinting spell forms. He was extremely excited about the opportunity to pass on his knowledge. After Damien left, I recalled my scores. Oh, I saw it. He had never asked me what they were, but the numbers were burned into my memory. Space 98 time 90. Displacement 61. Bro has displacement. Wait, does it continue? It continues. Oh, but 98 and 90, 60. Like, bro is a mage. What the fuck? I was like, well, he's gonna be a soldier. Because the book is called A Soldier's Life as well. But here he is, fucking maging it up. Okay, materialism 9. Worlds 88, void 22, convergence 74. What? Like, it's insane. He's cracked. But then he has worlds. I mean, space and time, cool as fuck. Displacement, he has a lot of that as well. Yeah, right? I was gonna say, that's what I was gonna say now, because he has world 88 as well. He probably teleported himself. Wow. Okay. It's funny that the 9, the 10 is the minimum, so it's like, it's, you know, it's like 9 is still impressive, but like, compared to these other ones, materialism, pff, huh? Imagine teleporting yourself without even knowing you could, dumbass, right? crazy. What a way to end it. Diamond Cat, this story seems fun so far. What do you think, Small? I think it's very fun. I'm enjoying my time. I am excited to read more. Genuinely excited. I'm happy that we started it. But yeah, I really like it. I'm excited to see where it's going. The only critique I would have so far is that holy shit, I had to say goblins so many times in the goblin chapter. But other than that, it was nice. I enjoy it. I think it's funny. I can joke around with it freely, I feel. It fits. I like it. I'm excited. So we will see what he will do with all this mage knowledge next time.